Who were the samurai? This question has no clear answer, but let's look at it through the lens of their historical role. The word samurai has its roots in the Japanese word saburai, which means those who serve. Samurai were servant warriors whose primary task was to protect their suzerains, the daimyo, liege lords, and shogun, military rulers. They were faithful followers of the bushido code, a kind of warrior's way that included the values of honor, loyalty, and restraint. The ancient Japanese period was the historical context in which the story of the samurai originated. At that time, they were primarily cavalrymen and masters of the arch, providing security and stability to the country. This period was characterized by political instability and external threats, and the samurai became an integral part of solving these problems. So why are samurai so important to the history of Japan? They weren't just warriors, they became a symbol of Japan, and their influence is felt in various aspects of Japanese culture, from art and literature to moral values and martial arts. Samurai played a key role in shaping the Japanese nation and influenced its development for centuries. Their code of honor and duty, bushido, is inspiring not only in Japan but around the world. To understand the origins of the samurai, it is necessary to go back to the time of the ancient Japanese period, which spanned roughly from the 4th century BCE to the early 7th century. This period was characterized by its political and socio-cultural instability, which was one of the reasons for the emergence of the samurai. The social structure of the ancient Japanese period was based on a system of clans and principalities, each with its own chief or prince. With constant conflicts and rivalry over territory and resources, the need for a military army became indispensable. Thus, a culture of military skills and warrior values began to emerge. At first, warriors during this period were cavalrymen and marksmen rather than true samurai. However, as conflicts and power struggles increased, martial skills became increasingly valuable. Weapons such as swords and armor began to develop and improve. Weapon masters began to create legendary swords, such as the katana, which became the symbol of the samurai. Samurai were not a common class and were not accessible to everyone. Their background was an important aspect of their formation. First of all, the samurai were heirs of ancestors who already belonged to this class. They were part of families with samurai status and inherited that status from their parents. However, there were exceptions. People could be invited into the samurai estate if they showed outstanding military skills, courage, or loyalty. This was an unusual exception, but such people sometimes attracted the attention of their liege lords and received the honor and status of samurai. Values and standards of behavior played an important role in the lives of samurai. Their code of bushido, the way of the warrior, became the basis for the moral and ethical principles they adhered to. This code included the values of honor, loyalty, restraint, courage, and humility. It governed not only their behavior on the battlefield, but also in their daily lives. The Sengoku era, Sengoku Jidai, or time of struggle for warrior lands, spans the period from the late 15th century to the early 17th century in Japanese history. This era was a time of endless wars, conflicts, and power struggles, which greatly affected the fate of the samurai and made them key participants in this era. The root cause of the surge of conflicts during this period was the fragmented power structures in Japan. The country was divided into many principalities and clans, each of which sought to consolidate its position and expand its holdings. This competition led to incessant wars and battles. The samurai were the core of the clan's military forces and served their liege lords faithfully, defending their interests and territories. During the Sengoku period, they proved to be outstanding military leaders and strategists capable of waging war under the most difficult conditions. Samurai were unique warriors, and their fighting skills were characterized by outstanding efficiency and skill. They were masters of the sword and other weapons, and their skills were certainly outstanding. However, it was not only physical strength and skill in battle that defined the samurai. They also followed a rigid code of bushido, which was a kind of moral and philosophical foundation for them. This code included values such as honor, loyalty, courage, and restraint. Samurai believed that adhering to bushido made them not only strong warriors, but also trustworthy and righteous leaders. Bushido also meant that samurai were to obey their daimyo in all things, even if it meant death. This loyalty was unquestionable, and samurai were willing to make sacrifices for their daimyo and the honor of their clan. Samurai spent many years learning the craft of combat and perfecting their skills. In this process, various styles and schools developed, each with their own unique methods and techniques. During the Sengoku period and thereafter, weapon masters continued to refine and develop new techniques and types of swords. The katana, over time, became a true work of art. Famous martial arts schools, such as Tosen-ryu and Iaido, developed and taught samurai fighting techniques, both with and without the sword. For example, Tosen-ryu specialized in swordsmanship and placed emphasis on perfecting the internal and external aspects of combat. This school emphasized the philosophy of combat and the pursuit of harmony. An important element of samurai martial arts was the use of Japanese armor, such as do, kabuto, and sozani. These armors were designed with a balance between protection and maneuverability in mind. Master armorers carefully crafted each piece of armor to provide maximum protection without compromising the combat readiness of the samurai. The martial arts of the samurai were of great importance not only in the military sphere, but also in the cultural and spiritual life of Japan. They became an integral part of the national identity and Japanese philosophy. In addition, the martial arts had a significant impact on the world stage. Eventually, many techniques and philosophies were transferred and adapted in other countries. For example, many aspects of kendo, the Japanese sword art, were incorporated into international sporting competitions. Among the samurai, there were outstanding sword masters whose names have remained in history. One of them is Miyamoto Musashi, who, in addition to his incredible fighting skills, also wrote the famous treatise, The Hot Bright Sun. This book has become a martial arts classic and has inspired many followers. Another famous swordmaster was Honda Tadakatsu. He was famous for his loyalty and honor. His historical feats and fighting skills made him a legend. The daily life of the samurai was full of strict rituals and traditions that defined their lifestyle. They placed great emphasis on physical fitness and training. Much of their day was spent practicing with weapons and fighting skills. Samurai practiced sword fighting and strove to perfect their skills in combat. Popular rituals included purity ceremonies and meditation, which helped them maintain a balance between the physical and spiritual sides of their lives. These rituals promoted spiritual strength and self-discipline, which was an important aspect of the samurai lifestyle. They also placed great importance on their appearance and kept their armor and swords in perfect condition. This was not only a matter of pride, but also an indication of their readiness for battle and their loyalty to their liege lord. Japanese literature often features works that focus on the samurai, their exploits and morale dilemmas. An example is the famous novel Hagakure, which contains many valuable lessons about honor and loyalty. The arts have also left many traces of the samurai era. Kabuki, the classical theater, often included elements of battle scenes and samurai history. The fine arts included portraits of samurai, their battles, and moments of honor and duty. Over time, with the collapse of the samurai as a military class, their role in Japanese society began to change. During the Edo period, they became more of administrative servants and lawyers. Their culture continued to evolve, and the samurai became patrons and admirers of the art of the tea ceremony, garden design, and the art of flower arrangement. The decline of the samurai class began at the end of the Sengoku era and continued into the Edo period. The existence of the samurai became incompatible with the new realities of Japanese society and political system. Several factors contributed to this decline: peace and a unified state. As a result of long wars and conflicts, the Sengoku era ended with the establishment of the Tokugawa shogunate in the 17th century. This brought peace and stability to Japan, reducing the need for military samurai. During the Middle Ages, swords and bows were the main weapons of the samurai. However, With the advent of firearms such as muskets and arquebuses, traditional fighting skills became less important. The Tokugawa shogunate imposed a number of legal restrictions on samurai, including a ban on carrying swords in public. This reduced their privileged status and social influence. One of the key events surrounding the end of the samurai era was the famous Senosuke Rebellion in 1877. This rebellion took place during the Meiji period and was an attempt to preserve samurai tradition and honor in a new political context. However, it was suppressed, and the samurai lost their last chance to return to their former status. In 1868, the Meiji era began with the rebellion and the departure of the last Tokugawa shogun. This period saw the industrialization and modernization of Japan under the influence of Western ideas and technology. This also hastened the decline of the samurai and the traditional way of life. In 1871, the law of equality of all citizens before the law was passed, which meant the end of samurai privileges and the class system. Samurai could no longer carry swords in public, and the weapon became a symbol of a bygone era. The legacy of the samurai lives on in modern Japan and beyond. Their sense of honor, loyalty, and duty have remained important aspects of Japanese national identity. Many elements of samurai culture, such as ikebana, the art of flower arrangement, the art of the tea ceremony, and martial arts, have been inherited and continue to exist in modern Japan. For example, kendo, the modern art of sword dueling, has its roots in samurai traditions. The influence of the samurai has also spread beyond Japan. Their image and ideals of honor, duty, and loyalty have become important elements of world culture through literature, film, and other arts. Famous films such as Akira Kurosawa's Seven Samurai have shown the symbolism and moral lessons of the samurai to the world.